Today we're going to talk about 10 tips for better spelling in nouns versus verbs. 10 tips to improve your spelling skills. For the first one, I before E except after C. Some examples of this rule are believe, ceiling, fright, field, receive, and slay. A second rule is silent E helps a vowel say its name. An example of this rule is the difference between rat and rate, or hid and hide. The third rule is when there's two vowels, the second vowel is silent. For example, in team, you don't hear the A, in coat, you don't hear the A, and in wait, you don't hear the I. For our fourth rule, learning the basic rules for spelling with plural nouns, we will discuss that later, so you don't need to worry about that one yet because we haven't gone over nouns. The fifth rule of spelling is to break words up. For example, disappearing can be broken up to dis, ap, peer, ing. Traditional can be broken up to tra-di-shun-null. Another hint is that if you know how to spell a word like traditional, it's similar to national and functional. The sixth rule of spelling is to remember that some words have a word within a word. For example, separate has the word rat in the middle of it, which can help you remember how to actually spell separate. The seventh rule of spelling is to make up a sentence that begins with each letter of the word you are trying to learn how to spell. For example, if you take the word chili, you can spell cats have interesting little ideas. Physical, please have your strawberry ice cream and lollipops. Some of it sounds silly, but the sillier it is, the easier it is to remember. For the eighth rule, remember that pronouncing words correctly will help you spell them correctly. For example, library instead of library, or jewelry instead of jewelry. The ninth rule of spelling is that the words you are struggling with, it will help you if you make a list of them and concentrate more on those versus the ones you already know how to spell. If you're concentrating on the harder words that you are having a hard time spelling, go back to the previous slides to use the hints and the other rules. For the last rule of spelling is to not rely on spell check. Spell check may not always know what you're trying to say. For example, if you're trying to say new, there's multiple ways to say new, and they might think a different way than you're trying to spell it. Another example is some, which could be spelled S-O-M-E, but they might think you're trying to say some, S-U-M, which have totally different meanings. Next, we will be talking about nouns versus verbs. To define a noun, it could be defined as a person, place, or thing. A thing could also be known as an object. To help clarify a noun, some examples are daughter, father, apple, banana, nose, pencil, snow, shop, and rat. Now, we will define a verb. A verb can be described as an action or your current state of being. To help clarify what a verb is, here are some examples. Swing, swim, pour, grow, be, do, drum, arise, and attack. These are only some examples of verbs and nouns. There are many, many, many out there. These are just to help get you started. This brings us to the end of our PowerPoint, which concludes our lecture. If anyone has any questions, now is a good time to ask. Just remember to please raise your hands. If you would like to know where I got any of my information from my PowerPoint on, I have listed the websites where I got them from. Thank you.